What's up, YouTube? I'm Godite74, bringing you a brand new draft league that I'm very excited about. We were accepted into the IBA, and this is the IBA's 4th season. However, it is our first with Wi-Fi, so they have like a Wi-Fi and Showdown leagues going on, which is pretty cool. I am into the Wi-Fi league, so this is going to be our first Wi-Fi league to the channel. Sorry, stuttering. So that's pretty exciting and all. The purpose of this video is my draft analysis, basically, to look over what I drafted and all that stuff. This is my second take, by the way, because first take I got into like my 3rd Pokemon. It was like 10 minutes long, so I decided to cut it down a little bit. I'm gonna try and do that. It's obvious I'm using a face cam. That was my dog, by the way. And I'm doing a face cam because I want to record these battles live. I'm gonna try. I don't have a capture card, so I might not. But even if I post com, I'm still gonna use a face cam. So doing the draft analysis with a face cam is just going to help me practice and get used to it again, as I used to do back in the URL. So that's that. So without further ado, we're just going to go right into this draft. Get this over with. So our first Pokemon we decided to draft was Megalopony. I originally had the idea of going straight in for a Dragon Steel Fairy Core, which I still kind of do, as you'll see throughout this draft. However, I got pick 9. And there's such beasts like Naganadel, Magearna, and the Megalottes are still, like, they're allowed. So the first few picks are definitely going to choose them because they're strong, like, duh. So, like, Megalopony's strong too, but it usually doesn't go first pick. But I got 9th, so it was sitting there, and I decided to take it. Oh, by the way, it's just completely off topic. Sorry if the face cam's going to be backwards, so, like, it looks good on my screen now, but, like, then my hair is going to be actually, like, over here. It's confusing. Anyway, Megalopony gives me a lot of physical pressure on an opponent's team. It gets 135 speed, which is really nice. Good speed tier, very, very fast. So, like, only thing outspeeding it really is Choice Scarfers, which, you know, of course. And 136 attack, which is just phenomenal. It's got the Scrappy ability, so its normal and fighting moves, at least one of those moves always hits something neutrally. So that's just insane right there. It also gets Fake Out, which is always useful. Heal Bell to Cleric Up, because it's got 94 defense and 96 special defense, which it's not frail. It's fairly bulky, fairly. It doesn't really even need coverage too much besides outside normal and fighting. It does get the elemental punches, and that's kind of it, actually, I believe. That and of course normal and fighting. But that just goes to show how strong this thing is. It doesn't need the coverage in order to be very successful. It also gets Baton Pass. I like to use U-Turn, Volt Switch, and Baton Pass a lot. So you're going to see me using Baton Pass quite often in this league, I think. Hopefully. It depends what I can fit into the moveset. And it gets a few support options like Thunder Wave and Switch, well, it doesn't need Switcheroo. And Magic Coat if I really want to do all that. So that's the Megalopony. I'm very excited to use it. Again, I'm going to keep this short. That's my dog shaking in the background again. He's very noisy. But that's it for the Megalopony. We're just going to go straight into our second pick, which is the Latias. Now, I originally wanted Clefable. Sorry, I'm like dying. And I wanted Clefable, but it was taken like 6 picks before mine, which is understandable because it didn't go in round 1. It went very early round 2, which, you know, Clefable's really good mon. That's how it's going to go. So it's okay. Megalottes were both gone, of course, and Latios was gone. So this was my opening to get a really good Dragon type, because if Latias went, then I mean, there's a lot of good ones, but Latias is top tier in my opinion. So I decided to pick up Latias. I did make it my Z captain, so it's going to be holding Z moves this year. It's very bulky in the special side, and it's very fast. 110 speed, another good speed tier. It's not the same as Megalopony, so that's good. Special attack 110, always nice. It gets a lot of utility with Defog, Roar, Refresh, and it gets reliable recovery and recover and roost. There's a lot of R's in that sentence. And it also can be very especially offensive with Dragon Stab, Psychic Stab. It gets Energy Ball as well. It gets Ice Beam. I just learned that like 10 minutes ago, which is shocking. And it also gets Thunderbolt. And Surf. Wow, jeez. So it gets a lot of options it can use. And lastly, it can use Wish as well. It can Wish Pass. I'm not the biggest fan of Wish, but it's very useful. And if I can Wish Pass to mons that don't have reliable recovery, luckily a lot of my walls on my team do have reliable recovery, so it's okay. I don't need Wish as much, but for the ones that don't, it's right there sitting there. So that's going to be it for the Latias. I'm starting to speak a little fast, and I apologize. I don't like speaking fast, but it's how it is. We're going to move on into our round 3 pick, which was Skarmory. We have used Skarmory in a URL before, so this is a mon that I have had experience with. I do love Skarmory. It's another piece of the Dragon Steel and Fairy Core. Skarmory does get a lot of hazards. It gets spikes and stealth rocks, and if it doesn't want any hazards, it gets defog. So I think that's very useful. It's got 2 great abilities in Sturdy and Weak Armor. Skarmory is very physically bulky, but it's not very specially bulky. So if it takes a special hit and it has to go all the way down to Sturdy, so be it. So it can guaranteed get a move off. And Weak Armor is there if I want to run a more offensive type of Skarmory. There's a lot of ways Skarmory can boost its attack and speed with, let's think of like Weak Armor and Weak Armor and Swords Dance, Autotomize Swords Dance, Double Dance, and then it can have Weakness Quality, Autotomize. And its coverage isn't the greatest. It gets Iron Head and Brave Bird, both stabs of course. It does get a few other moves like Rock Slide and X-Scissor and Night Slash, that's it too. Besides that, it doesn't, so you won't see it being offensive too much, but it can surprise you with its offensive presence. Lastly, I think people like to compare Celesteal to Skarmory a lot, and they look down on Skarmory. I personally like Skarmory a little more. I know Celesteal is very good, and Celesteal is very good, but the reliable recovery and roost for Skarmory is just really valuable in my opinion, and I don't like Leech Seed too much. That's why I didn't run it on Mega Venusaur in the PEBA too much. So I just like the reliable recovery option on Skarmory a little more. It's a little less flexible, but what can you do? It's lower tier points. I got it, of course. So that's our first 3 mons. Our first 3 mons are Megalopony, Latias, and Skarmory. It's looking very good so far. Each one covers each other's weaknesses very well. And we're going to go right into our 4th pick, which is Raikou. Now, Raikou is 115 speed, so you can tell our draft is like really fast besides Skarmory so far. Oh, excuse me. It gives me another Volt Switcher. I wasn't going to mess around with the U-Turn Volt Switch Baton Pass because I wanted that in my PEBA draft, but I didn't get it. So far we got Baton Pass, and now we got Volt Switch on Raikou. Raikou is, it doesn't have the greatest move pool, but it just hits so hard to the point where it doesn't even matter. Kind of like Megalopony almost. It gets Volt Switch, Thunderbolt, Hidden Power usually runs, Shadow Ball, Signal Beam, and Extra Sensory. And that's, an Aura Sphere if I want to run Rash Nature on it. But that's kind of it. I can set up with Calm Mind as well. It does have a fairly specially defensive bulk, so it's not frail. It can take hits, and this is one mon that I could wish into if I had to. So it happened to be it. It can also use Light Screen and Reflect if it wants to be more a support set. What do you know? But no, I never used Raikou before in competitive format. I honestly thought it was kind of bad, but looking into it more and how hard it hits, it actually is pretty good mon to use. It gives me a strong electric type. I wanted a good strong electric type for this draft because I had one last draft and it didn't work out. It was Thundurus is kind of but Raikou's a little different, so I'm hoping it works out. Sorry, I'm like choking. But that's kind of it for the Raikou. I'm gonna keep this short for the Raikou. Our next mon, I wanted a very bulky water. This is where I wanted it to come in, and a lot of people were actually drafting their bulky waters this round as well. Milotic went, Vaporeon went, I was looking at those. I originally had Slowking, but then I realized since I'm not getting a strong fairy type, I can get a strong bulky water, which is exactly what I did. And I picked up a somewhat controversial pick. I picked up Toxapex. Now Toxapex is a very unique mon. It's very fat and it doesn't have much of an offensive presence, which is fine. It gets really good abilities, 2 great abilities in Merciless, but more importantly, Regenerator. I've always wanted a Regenerator mon on a team, and I never ended up drafting one, so I finally got a Regenerator mon in Toxapex. This thing can come in as a great pivot, take a hit, and then switch out again if I really want to. It gets more hazards as with Toxic Spikes. It can recover, and it's not setup fodder because it has Haze. If Toxapex is running Haze, then it can just haze away anyone's stat boosts. So that's good. It gets its signature move, Baneful Bunker. If I want to get poison someone with it's like Protect, but, poison. It gets a few other moves. It gets the Liquidation, Scald, of course, is pretty important. Poison Jab, Sludge Bomb, Ice Beam for coverage, and Toxic, of course. But that's kind of it. Its move pool is another move pool that's not really big. The only big move pool I really have so far is Latias, which has a lot of options. But there's a few things I could do with this, but this is mainly here just the tank hits all year. That's it. I can make it physically or especially bulky, depending on my matchup. So that's something my opponent's going to have to prepare for every week is, am I going to run physical or am I going to run specially defensive toxic packs? You don't know. So that's kind of it for the toxic packs. I'm excited to use this. Again, with Skarmory having a ground immunity, sorry, I'm starting to stutter again, and Latios with a ground immunity, having 2 weaknesses to ground right in a row like that does not hurt my team actually. So it's okay to have that, and the weaknesses are looking pretty like solid so far. Like we don't have too much of anything. The fairy weakness from Lopunny and regular Latios is cut down because of Skarmory and Toxapex. So that's pretty good. So we're going to move on to our 6th Pokemon of the draft. We decided to pick up Serena. I do not have a nickname for this thing. I have nicknames for everything else besides Serena and another Pokemon that is next in the draft. Serena gave me a nice grass type Pokemon. I also was looking for the Fire, Water, Grass core. It wasn't as important, but I did. If I could fill it, I can. And Toxapex is Water type, and now Serena's a Grass type. So we got that going on for us. Serena's got 72 speed, so it's not the fastest thing in the world. It's got 98 in both defenses and 72 in HP, so it's kind of bulky as well. But it's got a massive 120 attack, which is really good pairing with a Pokemon that actually does have a good move pool. This is the 2nd Pokemon on the team that does have a good move pool. It gets U-turn, which is very important already. Volt Switch U-turn. Other coverage it gets is Seed Bomb, Power Whip. It gets Drop Kick, which is very interesting. It lowers the attack by 1 of your opponent every time. It gets HJK. Thing hits really strong. Knockoff, Flare Off, and Zen Headbutt for that's just physical coverage right there. And it doesn't always have to be a physical mon. It can be very utility-wise. It can be ran like in a utility type of way. It can have Rapid Spin right there. Phase away hazards. It gets Synthesis, Reliable Recovery. Aromatherapy, get rid of all statuses. So it can play more than just a physical beast. It gets Light Screen and Reflect as well. It has the screens. My dog is shaking in the background again. And gets Toxic as well. And it just that's its options basically. It can be very flexible to use. I can run Choice Scarf on it if I want. I can run Choice Band if I want to take a hit. It can just run Leftovers, bulky support. Like it can run a lot. That's my Discord going off. And that's kind of it for the Serena. It was another physical mon. I realized that besides Mega Lopunny, I was kind of missing a physical presence because Skarmory doesn't really hit crazy hard unless you have Swords Dance up, of course. And everything else is especially base. So I needed a physical mon. I needed Grass type. And Serena, 120 attack again. Nothing to mess around with. So that's the Serena right there. So we have 6 of our 11 Pokemon we do end up drafting. And we're going to go on to our 7th mon, which is Comfey. Comfey is the fairy type I ended up picking up. It's not a top tier fairy. It's actually my lowest tier, my points I've spent. It's a point tier system. So the lowest amount of tiers besides my last pick was Comfey. It's not the greatest, I'll admit. Comfey, it's got 100 speed, which is not bad. It's got 110 special defense, and it can be a special defensive wall with its bulk. And its 90 defense isn't that bad. It's just 82 special attack isn't the greatest as well. Besides poison and steel types, this thing actually does wall a lot of things, and fire types wall things pretty well. It's got a really unique ability in Triage, which this Pokemon's healing moves have their priority increased by 3. So it's got priority synthesis every time. I think Draining Kiss is priority. I don't know. I could be wrong about that. But it just heals a lot. It gets U-turn as well for momentum. It gets Defog to go phase away hazards, and it gets Aromatherapy. So it does similar things to Serena almost, except that Serena's got more of a physical presence. Like, yeah, what I just said, physical presence. And Comfey's got more of a support role. Like it's usually a support role. Comfey can run Calm Mind and then start. Like it gets Giga Drain, it gets Draining Kiss as special moves, but I mean that's kind of it actually. Now I'm looking at it. So yeah, this thing doesn't have the greatest move pool in the entire world. It gets Light Screen too. So that's kind of what the Comfey's about. It completes the Dragon Fairy Steel Core. You got really good Dragon, it got really good Steel, and an okay Fairy. It's not the greatest, but it's something that we can work with. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm looking very forward to Comfey. This thing's just not gonna die if I have Synthesis, and my opponent doesn't have a really strong wall breaker on the team. So that's something really good to look at. And that's kind of it for the Comfey. I've never used Comfey before actually, so this is gonna be very interesting. We're going to go on to our next pick. Our next pick actually originally was Gligar, but as you might see later, I might explain it later. I had extra points at the end of this draft, and I made 2 transactions to make the draft a little better. I decided instead of Gligar, I would trade in it for Hippowdon. Now, Hippowdon's way high up on the tier list, and you'll see why I actually dropped into something else later to kind of counteract that. But I realized that a really strong ground type is really important to a team. And I didn't really look at that at first. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. But then I really looked at Gligar, and I'm like, wow, this thing just does not hit hard at all. And it tanks hits, somewhat well, defensive hits at least. And Hippowdon takes defensive hits very well, while also not having to hold an Eviolite. The attack type's really insane, and its special defense is even higher. The only thing that Hippowdon lacks over Gligar is its speed, and it doesn't really even matter because I already have a lot of fast Mons on the team, so I don't really mind having another slow Mon on the team. Hippowdon is, again, 108 HP, 112 attack, and 118 defense. That's insane right there. And 72 special defense, not bad. It does get decent coverage in Earthquake. It gets all the Fangs, I believe. It gets Ice Fang, it gets Thunder Fang and Fire Fang, yeah it does. Stealth Rock, it gets for hazards. Stone Edge and Superpower as well. And it gets Roar and Whirlwind to phase out, so it can't be setup fodder either. And it gets reliable recovery and Slack Off. That is one thing that makes Hippowdon very good. You can just heal up constantly. And you're thinking, yeah, it's slow. What if a water comes in? Well, it can usually tank the hit anyway. So there's that. It can run a lot of items as well. It can run Leftovers, Rocky Helmet, as I have on my screen at the moment, Assault Vest, a lot of support like Pasho Berry. There you go. So there's all that for Hippowdon. I feel like I'm missing something for Hippowdon. Its ability. My team isn't really great with Sand. I might run Sand Force a lot, only because my team doesn't do good with Sandstream. Some of it does, like Skarmory can just come in fine. It doesn't really care about it. A few others too, but that's kind of it. I wasn't really care for the ability. Gligar had a good ability in Immunity. I was kind of happy about that, but I was willing to trade it for the extra bulk and all. And Earthquake just hits really hard from Hippowdon. So that's it for the Hippowdon. And we have 3 more picks to go. Sorry, I'm trying to not make this too long. My voice is very shot right now. I stutter a lot, so we're getting close to the end. Our next pick was Chandelure, though. I went back and forth so much between this. This was when I had a lot of extra points. So I was thinking, should I go Chandelure or should I go with Blacephalon? Because I've never used Blacephalon. Okay. And Chandelure I have not used in Draft League, but I've used it just battling in general before. And I love Chandelure. 80 speed, I wanted a Choice Scarf ranged type of Mon. I know you're telling me, oh, Blacephalon's not that. And I know it's not that, but Chandelure is, and Blacephalon hits extremely hard. It hits harder than Chandelure. And I realized that Blacephalon does hit a lot of things for Okos that Chandelure just misses out on. But if I slap just a Specs on it or something like that, or even a Life Orb, Expert Belt, it'll pick up the KOs. The biggest selling point besides the lower speed that I did want, was the fact that Chandelure gets Energy Ball and Blacephalon does not get Energy Ball. In my opinion, that is really big because that covers a lot of Chandelure's weaknesses right there. The Water, Ground, and Rock. It covers all of its weaknesses. With Shadow Ball covering Ghost, and well, except for Dark, but now I'm looking at it, but it's Dark type. You have Fire Stab right there. So Blacephalon does not get Energy Ball, so it has very hard time with its coverage moves. It only gets Fire and Ghost type moves basically, and Psychic. While Chandelure gets more coverage with Dark Pulse, Energy Ball, Flamethrower, Shadow Ball, and Psychic itself. It can also have Will-O-Wisp as well. Will-O-Wisp can hurt teams a lot. Specs Overheat destroys Mons as well, so I could always run that. It gets Clear Smog, very interesting tech. Probably won't see myself bringing that, but it clears all stat changes. So if my opponent's getting too boosted up, Clear Smog it away. It might go down. I don't know. Chandelure gets Trick. It can trick away its item like a Choice Scarf to a wall, so it can cripple it. And it gets Calm Mind if it wants to set up. I don't see myself setting up too much because Fire typing isn't the greatest defensive typing. I know it's got a lot of resistances, but Water, Ground, and Rock are just really common types, so I don't see myself getting away with setting up. The Chandelure's going to be shiny, by the way, so yeah. And it's got the ability Infiltrator, which goes through substitutes, which I know some teams, depending on the coach, some coaches really gear towards Light Screen, Reflects, and subs and Aurora Veil and all, while others don't really care for it too much. This gives me myself a way to get past that. I don't use Light Screen and Reflect a crazy amount. I've used it before, and I will use it if I have to, but I don't plan myself on using it. If my opponent does, I can have just Infiltrator Chandelure come in and just wreck house. So that's it for the Chandelure. It hit very hard. 145 special attack is nothing to laugh at. And we're going to go on to our second last pick of the draft. We're almost there. Our second last pick originally was Crawdaunt, and this is why I needed to drop it 2 tiers, because Crawdaunt was, I believe, 11 points, and what I ended up picking up was Sharpedo, which was 9 points. Now, Sharpedo gives me a 95 speed Mon, which is another good Mon, 120 attack, another physically offensive Mon, because Hippowdon's going to be more bulkier. I'm not going to really invest in its attack a crazy ton. So we got Mega Lopunny, Serena, and Sharpedo now. Sharpedo is great because you don't really have to run a Jolly Nature, or you never have to run a Scarf, because it gets Speed Boost. Because if you have 1 turn of Speed Boost, it's essentially just a Scarf. So you can slap a Life Orb or a Choice Band or an Expert Belt on it, and that's where it gets all its power from. It's frail. This thing cannot take a hit for its life, I'll be real. But it gets great coverage moves in Waterfall, Liquidation, Night Slash, Crunch. Psychic Fangs is pretty big. Psychic Fangs is really good because it can destroy screens as well. It also gets Zen Headbutt, which I just said Psychic Fangs. I don't know why I did that. Ice Fang and Aqua Jet and Earthquake as well. So its coverage is very good. If I wanted to run, it's got 95 special attack, which isn't bad as well. Its special move pool isn't the greatest, but you can run Scald, Dark Pulse, and Ice Beam if you really want. So that's really good for Sharpedo. I had Crawdaunt. I didn't really like the speed tier of Crawdaunt. I wanted Staraptor, but someone took it. Coincidentally, someone actually dropped it later on, but it doesn't matter now. I have Sharpedo. It's a pink shiny. I like it shiny a lot, and it's kind of it for it, I believe. I feel like I'm forgetting something. I forget something every time. I don't really write down notes as much as I used to. I had a script from the beginning, but then everything else is just improv. So that's why there's a lot of ums in this video. But that's it for Sharpedo. If I think of anything, I'll just mention it in a future video. And we have our last pick, which was it was a meme pick. We got Wormadam Trash. Yeah, this thing, it's in the name. It's trash. But I was thinking back and forth. Should I choose something stupid that actually helps me, or something that is just dumb? And I actually had Cranidos in my mind, and believe it or not, someone actually picked up Cranidos, and I'm just like, that's wild. So I decided just to do something completely useless. Wormadam Trash is literally a pile of trash. Anticipation's a cool ability. Okay, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I'm barely gonna bring this thing. I'll bring it like once just as a laugh. And so yeah, I picked the trash form just for the namesake. But that is it for the draft. Let me know what you guys think about my draft in the comment section below. I'm very happy with this draft compared to the PEBA draft I had. I've got a Dragon Fairy Seal Core. I've got a great Mega. Everything's very synergized with each other. I can Volt Switch around. I can U-turn around. Good communities and coverage for each other's weaknesses. So I'm very excited to use this team. I could use a little bit more of a physical presence. I know Lopunny is sitting right there, but every week my opponent's going to prepare for Lopunny like crazy. So, excuse me. It's kind of like obvious that they can prepare for that. So I have to work around that a little bit. But it's okay because I choose special attackers over physical attackers. I got the hiccups for some reason. But that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching. All the coaches' links will be in the description below. So go check them all out. They're all amazing people. I joined the Discord maybe 3 weeks ago now. I think of it. 2 or 3 weeks ago as of the making of this video. And they are all so nice. Everyone in that league is great. Odds and Aaron are running it, and Nick, I believe. I don't know. But thank you all for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. And our next battle will go up on the 6th. So our first battle will go up on the 6th. We're facing Odds, of course. The guy in charge of the whole thing is our opponent week 1, of course. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.